وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَادْعُوهُ بِهَا وَذَرُوا الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ سَيُجْزَوْنَ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ.
Allah has the most excellent names, so call on Him by His names and shun those who distort them. They shall soon be requited for their deeds. Allah has the most excellent names.
Here the present discourse is nearing its end. Before concluding, people are warned in a style which combines admonition with censure against some basic wrongs. People are here being warned particularly against denial, combined with mockery which they have adopted towards the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
They shall soon be requited for their deeds.
The name of a thing reflects how it is conceptualized. Hence, inappropriate concepts are reflected in inappropriate names and vice versa. Moreover, the attitude a man adopts towards different things is also based on the concepts he entertains of those things. If a concept about a thing is erroneous, so will a man's relationship with it. On the other hand, a right concept about a thing will lead to establishing the right relationship with it. In the same way as this applies to relationships with worldly objects, so it applies to relationships with God. If a man is mistaken about God, be it about his person or attributes, he will choose false words for God. And the falsity of concepts about God affects man's whole ethical attitude. This is understandable since man's whole ethical attitude is directly related to man's concept of God and God's relationship with the universe and man. It is for this reason that the Quran asks man to shun profanity in naming God. Only the most beautiful names befit God, and hence man should invoke Him by them. Any profanity in this respect will lead to evil consequences. The most excellent names used of God express His greatness and paramountcy, holiness, purity, and the perfection and absoluteness of all His attributes. The opposite trend has been termed ilhad in this verse. The word ilhad literally means to veer away from the straight direction. The word is used, for instance, when an arrow misses the mark and strikes elsewhere. The commitment of ilhad in naming God mentioned in the verse consists of choosing names which are below His majestic dignity, and which are inconsistent with the reverence due to Him, names which ascribe evil or defect to God, or reflect false notions about Him. Equally blasphemous is the act of calling some creature by a name which befits God alone. The Quranic exhortation in the above verse to shun those who distort God's names implies that if misguided people fail to see reason, the righteous should not engross themselves in unnecessary argumentation with them, for such men will themselves suffer dire consequences.
وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا أُمَّةٌ يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ.
And of those whom we have created, there is a party who guide people through the truth and act justly according to it.
وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُم مِّنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ.
As for those who reject our signs as false, we shall lead them step by step to their ruin without their even perceiving it.
وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ.
And for this purpose, I will grant them respite. My design is incontrovertible.
أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا مَا بِصَاحِبِهِم مِّن جِنَّةٍ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ.
Have they not pondered that their companion, for instance, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not afflicted with insanity? He is only a plain warner.
أَوَلَمْ يَنظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وأن عسى أن يكون قد اقترب أجلهم فبأي حديث بعده يؤمنون.
Have they not observed the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, and all that Allah has created, and that their term of life might have drawn near? After this warning from the Prophet, what will it be that will make them believe? And all that Allah has created.
The word companion here refers to the Prophet, peace be upon him, who was born, brought up, grew into youth, in short, spent his whole life, including his old age, in their midst. Before the advent of his prophethood, Muhammad, peace be upon him, was known to all the Quraysh as good-natured and of sound mind. However, as he started calling people to accept the message of God, they immediately dubbed him insane. Now it is obvious that they were not attributing insanity to him as regards his pre-prophetic life, for they had nothing evil to say about that period of his life. The charge of insanity, therefore, was leveled against the message he began to preach when he was designated a prophet. The Quran, therefore, asks them to give serious thought to the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and to see if there is anything that is inconsistent with sanity or is meaningless and irrational. Had people reflected on the order of the universe, or carefully considered even one single creation of God, they would have been convinced of the truth of the teachings of the Prophet, peace be upon him. They would have realized that whatever he said to refute polytheism, or to establish God's unity or the accountability of man in the hereafter, or about the necessity of man's surrender to God, was corroborated by the entire order of the universe and every single atom of God's creation.
And that their term of life might have drawn near.
The unbelievers, feeble-minded as they are, fail to understand that no one knows when he will die, for death overtakes man totally unawares. This being the case, what will be the end of those who waste the time at their disposal until death overtakes them and fail to find the direction to their salvation?
من يضلل الله فلا هادي له ويذرهم في طغيانهم يعمهون.
For those whom Allah lets go astray, there is no guide, and He will leave them in their transgression to stumble blindly.
يسألونك عن الساعة أيان مرساها قل إنما علمها عند ربي لا يجليها لوقتها إلا هو ثقلت في السماوات والأرض لا تأتيكم إلا بغتة يسألونك كأنك حفي عنها قل إنما علمها عند الله ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون.
They ask you concerning the hour, when will its coming be? Say, the knowledge of it is with my Lord alone. None but He will disclose it at its time. That will weigh heavily on the heavens and the earth, and it shall not come to you other than all of a sudden. They ask you as if you are eagerly inquisitive about it, concerning it. Say to them, the knowledge of it is with none except Allah, but most people are unaware of this reality.
قل لا أملك لنفسي نفعا ولا ضرا إلا ما شاء الله ولو كنت أعلم الغيب لاستكثرت من الخير وما مسني السوء إن أنا إلا نذير وبشير لقوم يؤمنون.
Tell them, O Muhammad, peace be upon him, I have no power to benefit or harm myself except as Allah may please. And had I knowledge of the unseen, I should have amassed all kinds of good, and no evil would have ever touched me. I am merely a warner and the herald of glad tidings to those who have faith.
I should have amassed all kinds of good, and no evil would have ever touched me.
The time of the advent of the last day is known to God alone, who knows the unseen, which in fact is not known even to the Prophet, peace be upon him. Being human, he is not aware what the morrow has in store for him and his family. Had his knowledge encompassed everything, even things that lie beyond the ken of sense perception, and events that lie hidden in the future, he would have accumulated immense benefit and would have been able to avoid a great deal of loss owing to such foreknowledge. That being the case, it is sheer naivety to ask the Prophet, peace be upon him, about the actual time for the advent of the last day.
هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وجعل منها زوجها ليسكن إليها فلما تغشاها حملت حملا خفيفا فمرت به فلما أثقلت دعوا الله ربهما لئن آتيتنا صالحا لنكونن من الشاكرين.
It is He, Allah, who created you from a single being, and out of it He made its mate, that He may find comfort in her. And when He covers her, she bears a light burden and goes about with it. Then, when she grows heavy, they pray to their Lord, "If you bestow upon us a healthy child, we will surely give thanks."
فَلَمَّا آتَاهُمَا صَالِحًا جَعَلَا لَهُ شُرَكَاءَ فِيمَا آتَاهُمَا فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ.
But when He vouchsafes them a healthy child, they attribute to Him partners regarding what Allah had bestowed upon them. Subliminally, exalted is Allah above that which they associate with Him.
Exalted is Allah above that which they associate with Him.
The present and succeeding verses, 190 to 8, seek to refute polytheism. These verses are devoted to highlighting the implications of the postulate which even the polytheists affirmed, that it is God who originally created the human species. They also acknowledge that every human being owes his existence to God. God also holds absolute power over the entire process leading to man's birth, right from the fertilization of the ovum in the uterus to its onward development in the form of a living being, then investing it with numerous faculties and ensuring its birth as a sound, healthy baby. No one has the power to prevent God, if He so willed, from causing a woman to give birth to an animal, or to some odd creature, or to a physically or mentally handicapped baby. This fact is also equally acknowledged by monotheists and polytheists. It is for this reason that in the final stage of pregnancy, people are inclined to turn to God and pray for the birth of a sound and healthy baby. It is, however, the very height of man's ignorance and folly that after a sound and healthy baby has been born as a result of God's will, man makes offerings at the altars of false gods, goddesses, or saints. Occasionally, the names given to the child, for example, Abd al-Rasul, Abd al-Uzza, Abd Shams, etc., also indicate that man feels grateful to others than God and regards the child as a gift either of some prophet, some noted companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, or some other noted personality such as his spiritual mentor, rather than a gift from God. There has been some misunderstanding with regard to the point emphasized here. This misunderstanding has been further reinforced by traditions of doubtful authenticity. The Quran mentions that human beings are created from a single person, and obviously here that person means Adam, peace be upon him. Now this reference to one person is soon followed by reference to his spouse, and that both prayed to God for the birth of a sound and healthy baby. And when that prayer was accepted, the couple are mentioned as having associated others with God in the granting of His favor. The misunderstanding consists in considering this couple, who fell prey to polytheism, to be Adam and Eve. People resorted to unauthentic traditions to explain the above verse, and the story which thus gained acceptance was the following. It was claimed that Eve suffered several mishaps since her offspring would die after birth. Satan seized this opportunity to mislead her into naming her baby Abd al-Harith, the slave of Satan, What is most shocking is that some of these unsubstantiated traditions have been ascribed to the Prophet, peace be upon him. The fact, however, is that the above account does not have even an iota of truth, nor is it in any way corroborated by the Quran itself. The only point brought home by the Quran is that it is God alone, to the total exclusion of everyone else, who brought the first human couple into being. And again, it is God alone who causes the birth of each baby born out of the intercourse between a man and a woman. The Quran also points out that the acknowledgement of this truth is innate in human nature, which is evident from the fact that in states of distress and crisis, man turns prayerfully to God alone. Ironically, however, after God blesses those prayers with acceptance, a number of people associate others with God in His divinity. The fact is that the present verses do not refer to any particular man and woman. The allusion is in fact to every man and woman enmeshed in polytheism. Here, another point deserves attention. These verses condemn the Arabian polytheists on account of the fact that when God granted them sound children in response to their prayers, they associated others with God in offering thanks. But what is the situation of many Muslims of today who strongly believe in the unity of God? Their situation seems even worse. It is not uncommon for them to ask others than God to grant children. They make vows during pregnancy to others than God, and make offerings to others than God after childbirth. Yet they are satisfied that they have a full guarantee of paradise since they are believers in the one true God, whereas the Arabian polytheists would inevitably be consigned to hell. It is only the doctrinal errors of the pre-Islamic Arabian polytheists which may be condemned. The doctrinal errors of Muslims are beyond all criticism and censure.
أَيُشْرِكُونَ مَا لَا يَخْلُقُ شَيْئًا وَهُمْ يُخْلَقُونَ.
Do they associate with Allah in His divinity those who can create nothing? Rather, they themselves are created.
وَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ لَهُمْ نَصْرًا وَلَا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَنصُرُونَ.
They have no power to help others, nor can they help themselves.
وَإِن تَدْعُوهُمْ إِلَى الْهُدَى لَا يَتَّبِعُوكُمْ سواء عليكم أدعوتموهم أم أنتم صامتون.
And if you call them to true guidance, they will not follow you. It is all the same for you whether you call them to true guidance or keep silent. It is all the same for you whether you call them to true guidance or keep silent.
As to the false gods set up by the polytheists, what is the extent of their power? Not only do they not have the power to guide others, they do not have even the power to follow others or even to answer the call of their devotees.
إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ عِبَادٌ أَمْثَالُكُمْ فادعوهم فليستجيبوا لكم إن كنتم صادقين.
Those whom you invoke other than Allah are creatures like you. So invoke them and see if they answer your call, if what you claim is true.
أَلَهُمْ أَرْجُلٌ يَمْشُونَ بِهَا أَمْ لَهُمْ أَيْدِي يَبْطِشُونَ بِهَا أَمْ لَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا أَمْ لَهُمْ آذَانٌ يَسْمَعُونَ بِهَا قُلِ ادْعُوا شُرَكَاءَكُمْ ثُمَّ كِيدُونِ فَلَا تُنظِرُونَ.
Have they feet on which they can walk? Have they hands with which they can grasp? Have they eyes with which they can see? Have they ears with which they can hear? Say, O Muhammad, invoke all those to whom you ascribe a share in Allah's divinity. Then scheme against me and grant me no respite. Have they ears with which they can hear?
Polytheistic religions seem to have three characteristics. A. Idols and images that are held as objects of worship. B. Some persons and spirits that are considered deities represented in the form of idols and images, etc. And C. Certain beliefs which underlie their polytheistic rites. The Quran denounces all these. At this place, however, the attack is directed against the objects to which the polytheists directed their worship.
إن وليي الله الذي نزل الكتاب وهو يتولى الصالحين.
My guardian is Allah, who has revealed the book, and it is He who protects the righteous. And it is He who protects the righteous.
This is in response to the threats held out by the polytheists to the Prophet, peace be upon him. They used to tell the Prophet, peace be upon him, that if he did not give up opposing their deities and denouncing them, he would be overwhelmed by the wrath of those deities and court utter disaster.
والذين تدعون من دونه لا يستطيعون نصركم ولا أنفسهم ينصرون.
And those whom you invoke other than Allah, they can neither help themselves nor you.
وإن تدعوهم إلى الهدى لا يسمعون وتراهم ينظرون إليك وهم لا يبصرون.
And if you were to call them to true guidance, they will not hear, and you observe them looking at you, whereas they have no power to see.
خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين.
O Prophet, peace be upon him, show forgiveness, enjoin equity, and avoid the ignorant.
وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه سميع عليم.
And if it happens that a prompting from Satan should stir you up, seek refuge with Allah. He is all-hearing, all-knowing.
إن الذين اتقوا إذا مسهم طائف من الشيطان تذكروا فإذا هم مبصرون.
If the God-fearing are instigated by any suggestion of Satan, they instantly become alert, whereafter they clearly perceive the right way.
وإخوانهم يمدونهم في الغي ثم لا يقصرون.
As for their brethren, the Satans, they draw them deeper into error and do not relax in their efforts.
They draw them deeper into error and do not relax in their efforts.
Here some important directives are addressed to the Prophet, peace be upon him, regarding how he should preach the message of Islam and how he should guide and reform people. The object of these directives is not merely to instruct the Prophet, peace be upon him, but also to instruct all those who should shoulder the same responsibility after the Prophet, peace be upon him, was no longer amidst them. The major directives are as follows. A. The most important qualities that must be cultivated by anyone who calls others to the truth are tenderness, magnanimity, and forbearing. Such a person should also have the capacity to tolerate the lapses of his companions and to patiently endure the excesses of his opponents. He should also be able to keep his cool in the face of grave provocation and gracefully connive at the offensive behavior of others. In facing the angry words, slander, persecution, and mischief of his opponents, he should exercise the utmost self-restraint. Harshness, severity, bitterness, and vindictive provocativeness on his part are bound to undermine his mission. The same point seems to have been made in a hadith in which the Prophet, peace be upon him, says that he has been commanded by his Lord to say the just word whether I am angry or pleased, to maintain ties with him who severs ties with me, and to give to him who denies me my right, and to forgive him who wrongs me. The Prophet, peace be upon him, also instructed all those whom he deputized for preaching. Give good news rather than arouse revulsion. Make things easy rather than hard. This distinguishing feature of the Prophet's personality has also been mentioned in the Quran. It was thanks to Allah's mercy that you were gentle to them. Had you been rough, hard-hearted, they would surely have scattered away from you. Al-Imran 3:159. B. The second key to the success in dawah work is to stay away from excessive theorizing and intellectual hair-splitting. One should rather call people in clear and simple terms to those virtues which are recognized as such by the generality of mankind and appeal to common sense. The great advantage of this method is that the message of Islam finds its way right to the hearts of people at all levels of understanding. Those who then seek to oppose the message are soon exposed and end up antagonizing the common people. For when the common people observe, on the one hand, decent and righteous people being opposed for the simple reason that they are inviting people to universally known virtues, and on the other hand, observe those opponents resorting to all kinds of immoral and inhuman means, they are bound to incline to support the standard bearers of truth and righteousness. This process goes on until a point where the only opponents left are those whose self-interest is inextricably linked with the prevailing unrighteous system, or those who have been totally blinded by their bigoted adherence to ancestral tradition or by their irrational biases. The wisdom underlying the Prophet's method accounts for his phenomenal success and for the speedy spread of Islam in and around Arabia within a short span of time. People flock to Islam in vast numbers, so much so that in some lands 80 and 90% of the population embraced Islam. In fact, there are even instances of 100% of the population embracing Islam. C. The interest of the Islamic mission requires, on the one hand, that righteousness should be enjoined on those who have the propensity to become righteous. On the other hand, it also requires that those who are overly insistent in their adherence to falsehood should be left alone, and that their acts of provocation be ignored. Those who seek to spread Islam should confine their efforts to persuading only those who are prepared to consider the message of Islam in a reasonable manner. When someone becomes altogether unreasonable and quarrelsome and resorts to indecent methods of taunting and reviling Islam, Muslims should simply refuse to become adversative. For all the time and effort devoted to reforming such people will be totally wasted. E. The moment the proponent of the Islamic message feels that he is being provoked by the excesses, mischief, and uncalled for objections and accusations, he should realize that he is being influenced by Satan. In such a situation, he should immediately seek refuge with God and restrain himself lest his impulsiveness damage his cause. The cause of Islam can be served only by those who act cool-headedly. Only those steps are appropriate which have been taken after due consideration rather than under the influence of impulse and emotion. Satan, however, is ever on the lookout for opportunities to sabotage the efforts made in the cause of Islam. He therefore ensures that those who are working for the Islamic cause are subjected to unjust and mischievous attacks from their opponents. The purpose underlying this is to provoke the workers for the cause of Islam to engage in the senseless and harmful task of mounting counterattacks against their opponents. The appeal that Satan makes to those well-meaning religious people is often couched in religious phraseology and is backed up by religious argument. But the fact is that those counterattacks are undertaken merely under the impulse of man's lower self. The last two verses therefore make it clear that those who are God-fearing are always very sensitive to provocations under the impulse of Satan, and as soon as they become aware of such a provocation, they promote the best interests of the cause of truth rather than satisfy their vengeful feelings. As for those who are driven by egotistical impulses, they succumb to the promptings of Satan and are eventually set on an erroneous path. They fall victim to Satan, act virtually as his puppet, and subsequently their degradation knows no limit. They pay their opponents back in the same coin, tit for tat. What has been said above also has another impact. It seeks to remind the God-fearing that their ways should be perceptibly different from the ways of those who do not fear God. The God-fearing not only avoid evil, but the very idea of committing it pricks their conscience and rankles their hearts. They have an instinctive revulsion against evil, a revulsion similar to what a cleanliness-loving man feels at the sight of a big stain or a splash of filth on his clothes. This feeling causes the God-fearing to remove every stain of evil. Quite contrary are those who have no fear of God, who have no desire to stay away from evil, and who are in harmony with the ways of Satan. Such people are always given to evil thoughts and wrongdoing.